Hi everyone, Colin Hall, BizPlans UK. Last week I was lucky enough to be invited to speak at a conference in central London, and thank you to HR Independence for inviting me to speak. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But the speaker after me gave a fascinating presentation on AI, specifically how to make the best use of it and the kind of things that are just around the corner in terms of capabilities that companies will be able to take advantage of. And if you in your business have not given some consideration to AI, either how you'll use it or how it will affect your supply chain, your customer base, your competition, then you're missing a trick and maybe doing yourself some damage. Now, I'm not an AI expert and I'm not going to tell you how to do those things. You're going to have to do your own research, but I am going to bring two issues around AI to light, which you need to be aware of and account for in your future planning. Now, the first thing is that the chips needed for AI are much higher end than the kind of thing you'll see in your average laptop. They're typically sort of 5 nanometers or even less, and the technology to make those is much more expensive, much more difficult, and the supply chain for it is surprisingly fragile. There are thousands of companies in a sort of constellation that either supply the fabrications centers that make it or supply the production centers that make the things that go into the fabrication centers. About half of them make a single product for a single customer, and it only takes 1 or 2 of those to get knocked out by war, trade embargoes, anything at all, and the whole thing slows down or stops altogether. And that means that production of those AI chips reduces, and you'll end up with a scarcity which will affect everybody that wants to use them. So if you are building a business that relies very heavily or even exclusively on AI services, and more specifically those server farms with the AI chips in, then you have to be aware that that may be a limitation on growth, or that you may not have access to them at all. If everything goes well in the world, fine, but if China goes nuts and invades Taiwan, or the next US president decides to go heavy on trade embargoes, triggers a trade war, if the Ukraine war expands beyond the borders of Ukraine, all sorts of those things might interrupt that supply chain and cause problems. The second thing to be aware of is that AI chips are extremely energy hungry. If you use ChatGPT, say, to do your searches rather than Google, because it will give you better results, each search uses 10 times the energy of the Google search. And if the use of AI is growing exponentially, and if the energy requirement for each usage is 10 times higher, you can see for yourself what that does for energy consumption. And in a world where we're trying to get to net zero, something doesn't fit. OpenAI, who run ChatGPT, we were told last week, spend £700,000 a day, mostly on their server farms, and that's mostly on the energy requirement, both to run the AI chips and to cool them. And if AI continues to expand exponentially, then frankly, there's absolutely no way we hit net zero. That in turn will have knock-on effects to policies in all sorts of areas in government. Either they'll drop net zero, in which case those of you who are betting on net zero and are re-engineering your firms to account of it will have lost out, or in order to try and hit it, even though they probably can't, they'll put more pressure elsewhere, and you'll see increases in energy prices, more restrictions in other areas, and make life a lot more difficult. So when you think about AI, it's not just about the technology and how you use it, but also everything around AI and the other things it might impact your business. So on that cheery note, ta-ta for now.